Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's me, Colin, Project Constitution. We got a great show for you tonight. Tonight we have as my guest host, we're bringing back Steve Benoon from Israeli News Live. You can follow him on YouTube or you can follow him on X. Many of you guys are probably already follow him, but if you're not, make sure you go follow him. And then the guest we're going to have on tonight is his name is Ali, like Muhammad Ali. Ali, I'm gonna hold off on saying his last name because I don't want to butcher it. But I'll let him tell you what his last name is. But he goes by Z Rick Meister, ZREIKMIESTER on X. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and pull that up to show you guys real quick. That way you can know where to find him so you get the right account. All right, so there's his account right there. Make sure you guys all go follow him. He's been doing a lot of research digging in here. He has another theory scenario with regard to how Charlie Kirk was killed. And we are going to dive into that tonight. Like I had told him, it's not about whether we necessarily believe his theory or not. But as you guys know, I've platformed people and I've tried to put out as many of these theories that are credible as I can and let you guys make your own decisions on what you believe. So after talking with him and going through the evidence he definitely has a very credible theory. And I'm going to let him, I guess, take it from here and explain to you guys what he thinks happened.
Thank you. Thank you guys for putting me on, Colin. Appreciate it, man. How are you guys? How's it going? Okay, let me get started. A few weeks ago, like late October, like October 31st, I had the feds show up at my door in the morning, and they came in. They're asking me like a bunch of random crazy stuff. It was the same day those raids in Dearborn. Because I'm from Dearborn, Michigan. Pretty much lived out here my whole life, and technically I woke up in the morning. It was around 7, 8 a.m. and just federal agents were at my door. Before that, a few weeks before that, when the Charlie Kirk assassination happened, and I kind of saw it live on TV, and I was alarmed. Like, I have a degree in biology and biochemistry, and I run a lab. I had a lab for over like 10, 15 years, so I have experience in ballistics and medicine, like lots of different fields technically. Visual forensics is one of my key specialties, and that assassination was not a gunshot. Judging from every aspect, it was extremely violent, and technically, after I saw that, I knew that was not a gunshot. I started, it took me like a week or so looking at different type of, angles of the actual assassination, and I came to the conclusion that this was actually, explosive in his lavalier microphone that went off. Everything points to it. The evidence is just so extremely overwhelming. Like, anybody who's in the military and sees something like this, there's no way they can tell you that was a gunshot. They're either scared to say what actually happened, and they're complicit somehow in it, or they just won't talk about it. You can obviously see why. I mean, the feds came to my house at 7, 8 in the morning, just flashing their badges at my door, just asking me some of the crazy stuff. I spoke to my attorney, and apparently he told me, I told him what I knew and all the information, because during that period, after like a few weeks after I, kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, I started speaking to journalists, independent journalists, and I got a hold of some very, very well credible, independent journalists. I don't want to say any of their names because they don't want me to, but I got a hold of them via phone verbally, and I spoke to some of them and I told them about this information and the evidence I had. And, some of them were just like so terrified about this. They refused to talk to me on any other messaging app outside of Signal. And, I gave them the information.
Now,
obviously, there's
let me now when they raided you or whatever, like when they were questioning you, were they asking you about the Charlie Kirk thing specifically? Were they asking you about like your post or anything?
Nothing of that nature. Majority of it was around finances. They were asking about finances. I believe I spoke to my attorney. My attorney told me, if they come to your house, they're not going to tell you that the information you have and confirm it with you and tell you know the truth about it. They're just going to
Oh,
ask you about
absolutely
other things
not.
around you to see if you're well financed, if you're an intelligence officer, for a different country, and they try to kind of pull the information out of you little by little. And they asked me they were there for about 3.5 hours, and it was so odd because it was the exact same day the FBI started doing all those raids in the city and stuff, and it was just getting hectic. I'm sure you guys
Ollie,
been seeing on the news. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
no, it's quite all right. I don't want to just interrupt you, but I want to mention something to you. You know, the PETN is
Hmm.
also what is used in the pager bombs that the Israelis did on the group
Lebanon,
there in Lebanon.
Beirut.
Exactly. Now, I
Correct.
don't know if you're aware of this. Those pagers were delivered to Hezbollah via Iran. They were actually, the explosives were assembled in Iran. This is just how
Oh,
horrible the Israelis can use technology to be able to
weaponize it.
facilitate, yeah, to weaponize it, and the countries that they're willing to use. So my thought would be too is the reason why they're coming at you as well is they know you're talking about the PETN,
Hmm.
and so therefore they may be concerned that, well, gosh, well, they know how this was developed anyway, at least through the Israelis. They might be
Hmm.
wondering, did you get your hands on it? So that's kind of an interesting take, and it's something that I had just gotten because I've been trying to pull some information on a friend of mine that's his whole family's connected to the Israeli Mossad, and he's kind of got an axe to grind because of the evils they've done to his family. But he had mentioned this right before Colin told me about you coming on, and I thought about it, and I'm thinking, boy, that sounds crazy, but I don't know. Maybe it's true. Phil Turney with USS Liberty said the exact same thing.
Hmm.
And Phil says, Steve, good and well, that's what the Israelis used. He said, and the Israelis are definitely behind it. And he said, if they're behind it, they've got access to it. Go ahead. I just wanted to throw those thoughts in there.
No, I appreciate it. If you guys want to cut in any time to drop in any information, go straight ahead. As far as the pager bombing goes with the patent, like I did very deep, thorough research. That's how I came to my conclusion initially. I looked at the wound. The type of wound, the characterized wound that Charlie Kirk had on his neck was from a flat type of what do you call it? Like a flat type of projectile. A bullet would have a flap on the wound or some kind of like, explosion on the inside where the cavitation would leave like a bigger hole. This hole was perfectly flat. You can tell right away from it. Whatever blew in there was kind of flat in there because there's a perfect circle in his neck. And when I looked at that wound, I went back and started watching the pager video wounds. That's how I kind of analyzed it and came to my conclusion. And the type of the bleeding pattern, that's how I knew it was a perfectly round, flat type of projectile because the way he bled, he technically bled out before he hit the ground, which also means there was some kind of pressure in his chest area or where his heart was that pushed the blood out a lot quicker. He technically bled out before he hit the ground. And this was by design. Does that make sense?
That does, and I did not get a chance. I never thought about analyzing the pager wounds and things. And by the way, the Israelis also had loaded the same explosives in Hezbollah's radios and had
Yep.
talked about using that, but they never did. To me, that was a low down way of doing what they did in the first place. So, because the children that were at risk, the children that were injured and wounded as a result of it, but it's an interesting thought because I do know they have the I don't know if it's considered electromagnetic type of weapon that's done from electric charge that sends that big round disc shooting out. It's a low velocity though, but so yeah, it's just fascinating. So please continue.
It is technically Okay, I know. I listen. This is how well I researched this. I know. I see. I grew up in an electronics shop. You know, I was born initially in Lebanon in Beirut. I was born in the 90s, and you know, there's an electronics shop my family owned, so I had experience in electronics shops with, like, you know, resistors. I was like a savant with electronics up until even high school. So I'm very well versed in electronics and how you know, I started building computers at the age of like 6, 7 years old. You know, it was always my hobby. And you know, I know a lot about electronics. I did research on how they actually set these things up. Technically, what they do with the battery is they use an RF initiator. RF initiator by radio signal. This is how they set the pagers off. You know, what they do is they put an RF initiator that connects under the battery. And what they do is when that actual receiver gets the signal, the battery kind of shorts. It starts producing heat, and the PETN sits right on top of the battery. So when the battery gets hot enough, like it's almost burning, it starts dissolving the PETN, and the PETN explodes. You know, that's how they set up the actual pager attacks. In fact, in the pager attacks, you know, in the walkie-talkies, they had to change the design, the actual casing of the actual product. They had to change it so they can fit more technically PETN in there. So in those PETN, inside those pager attacks and walkie-talkies, they used at least between 20 to 100 grams of PETN in those things. So they used a ton of amount of PETN in there, you know, because they also know that those walkie-talkies and pagers, they're going to be like on your hip, you know, they're going to be a little close to your face, you know, unlike a microphone, which is directly on your neck in your chest area. Does that make sense? So I
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
telegraph, you know, how they
Yes.
produced the first one to be able to understand this one. And you know, in Charlie, in the Charlie Kirk
You
assassination, go ahead.
you you said that you also think that the charge could have been triggered with the infrared laser, correct?
I know without a doubt it was used with infrared laser was used. I have them on camera. I have on video the actual infrared light. You can see it go off. See, with these type of infrared like signaling devices, they use the LED to actually send the signal to the actual
Yes, and
other
that is
device.
possible. That's
They
very
have it on video.
possible
You
as
can
well,
see the
Colin.
trigger man. We'll go over the video. I'll show you the video. Like the way they assimilated this thing, they had different parts in it. They had people in the cleanup squad. So each person technically had like their own personal janitors technically cleaning up this whole assassination. You know, mostly my investigation was technically the exact assassination part, what they used and how they did it. You know, obviously there's a lot of complex gears in this whole assassination and this whole thing. You know, it's obviously a massive, lot of parties involved in this. But I focused
Oh,
exclusively on
absolutely.
how the assassination happened. You know, and I let everybody else do all the other crazy work because you know this is my specialty: ballistics, you know, medicine, you know, like autopsies and chemicals. That's my specialty. That's how you know how I kind of like broke this thing down over like a month and like figured every part out. You know what they used in Charlie Kirk's assassination is a RF heat initiator. See, this thing connects in the battery. I'll show you in my video. I have a whole breakdown on my YouTube. You can go ahead and watch both videos. You know, before I actually came out publicly and started speaking to people about this, I wanted to keep it, you know, under wraps because I want to see who else is going to come up with the same hypothesis, you know, and the same kind of results as I did. Because there's also a lot of propaganda going on. Like there's a whole entire, you know, team of propagandists going out there and just dumping all this false information about this to try to muddy the waters and make it more difficult for people to believe anything, you know. So
Well,
everything
Ali,
I've done,
they do that intentionally, and
of course,
what I would like if you could share with people so they understand what PETN is made of, the chemical breakdown, because it's highly explosive,
it
and
is
it's actually fairly stable. It's a stable
it is
compound.
very stable. Yep, it
It
can be
takes a
stored.
heat source to be initiated. It takes an energy
Exactly,
takes energy in order to trigger it. So you mean it can be handled very easily.
exactly,
I'm
correct.
gonna
And you know,
drop his YouTube link if you guys want to go watch his YouTube video. I'm dropping it in the chat here for you guys, so you guys can go ahead and check that out.
my YouTube and everything was banned. Like I had my original video had around like 10,000, 15,000 views within the first few days, and then I got banned for like some nonsense. So this new YouTube was you know, my new YouTube account. And like even back to the battery thing, anything with a battery they could weaponize technically. They weaponize the pagers, now the microphone, and all this crazy stuff. But technically, my proof and how it was like it was patent is also before it goes off. You can see Charlie flinch, and he turns to his right side like he's in pain. Right before it goes off. That's technically the patent being set off. When they trigger the patent, it takes it a few seconds. What's so odd about this whole thing is they did it like in broad daylight. You can hear one of the guys doing the count. They're saying 1, 2, and then when the crowd goes quiet, he says 3, and you can hear him say 3, like literally. You don't got to slow it down. Anything, you can literally hear it.
You can also hear, I don't know if you've seen the video or not, but there's also a video going around where you can hear somebody in the crowd, and I don't know who this is. I've not been able to find out who this is, but I would love to know. Somebody in the crowd yells, "Stay down," or "Get down."
Oh, I heard
right before
I heard
right
what you're
the
saying.
shot as well.
Yeah, I think I heard that too. Like, I've seen so many different angles of this. Like, it's unmistakable. There's no way you can say a gunshot when somebody shot a gun from 200 yards away, because you hear the explosion right in front of you. And like it's just too obvious. There's no way you can say otherwise. Especially the type of wound. Even what do you call it? Categorically, how he fell. The way he fell to his left side, that's insanely abnormal. If somebody's shot while sitting down, there's almost less than a 2-3% chance that they fall to their left. You know that, right? That was one of the biggest pieces of evidence outside of him flinching before it went off a few seconds, which is technically the patent heating up. Patent burns like at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is insanely hot. It's like a chemical burn kind of. So he knew while it was going off, it was heating up, it was ramping, because when they set it off, there's a few milliseconds before it actually detonates, because the battery, the positive and the negative technically touch, and it starts ramping up the heat from the battery to produce the actual heat for it to explode. You see what I'm saying?
Ali, yes, and let me ask you this. The laser source, the infrared laser, is that the same guy that we had caught the reflection in Frank's phone, or is it a different source?
No, it's a different source. See, the guy that actually sets off, or looks like, like you can literally, it took me 3 months to get just a picture of the guy that did it. And what's crazy about this is the guy is wearing military fatigue. He's wearing military boots, military pants.
Go ahead. You can go ahead and show them if you want.
Okay,
if you put stuff on screen, makes it easier for the audience to understand what you're talking about.
Man, that side on the left side where he actually stands is literally impossible to get any shot. They purposefully block that side of the actual what do you call it? Of the arena or the stadium.
Amphitheater. The amphitheater, exactly. Yeah. They definitely made sure there wasn't any cameras on that side for sure.
That's crazy.
Is it sharing the screen?
That's crazy. So, I mean, it makes sense though, because
oh, hold on, I gotta take mine down to share it. There you go.
Listen, I'll tell you something, Colin.
Right here, this guy right here. Look at
him. Hold on. Let Steve finish.
Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Phil Turney, and Ali, I don't know if you know who he is, but Phil
is
one of the USS Liberty survivors.
I do know him very well. Yep.
And we had interviewed him a couple of times already, and then Candace Owens had him on. And so because Candace had him on, I knew that Colin and Candace had talked already. And so when we were first trying to get some information to Candace, I also reached out to Phil, because Phil being a good friend, and I said, Phil, I'd like to get some information to Candace on this Charlie's assassination attempt. Phil tells me, he says, Steve, I'm telling you, it was the microphone.
So he knew, Phil knew too as well, huh?
I've looked at that microphone. I said, I don't see anything, it all seems to be intact. He said, Steve, you know good and well as I do, the Israelis detonated those pagers, and Israel's behind this, and to put it blank the way he said it, damn well they're the ones that did what they did.
Now,
they're the ones that did this.
Now, the biggest problem that I have with it, and the biggest problem that everybody else is going to have with it, including even some of the people in the chat already, is once the shot hits or whatever, the microphone stays put. The microphone, like if there was a blast, you would expect that to go flying, and it didn't. It stayed put. So do you
It's the
have
magnet. They had the magnet. The neodymium magnets they use are insanely strong. Like they're ridiculously strong. And the amount of PETN they used in there. Let me tell you something. They did testing. They did testing for a while on this. But there's actually something that goes wrong. In my video, I go over a few of the things that went wrong in this assassination. You know, when they put it in a shirt, you got to understand the human body has fluid in there. You know, your sternum, it's different than gel or a doll that you're dealing with. Secondly, inside of his shirt, it was confined. So when it's fully confined, it actually weakens the actual explosive velocity. You know, I have a few diagrams here. I'll show you what I mean. You know, technically, there's right here. Where is it? Okay, where is it? I got an actual picture of this because I
Ollie,
did very thorough research.
Are we talking about the lapel mic then, and not
The lapel mic, correct?
Okay.
Correct. When explosives are confined and there's not enough oxygen around them, you know, or like they're held in place and there's not enough movement for it, it'll actually nerf it. It'll lose explosive velocity. You know, there's a lot of I'm telling you, the way they planned this execution was insanely brilliant. Like they tested this thing over and over, because when explosion goes off in a confined area, it's only going to shoot out of one area. It's going to shoot out of the neck where there's oxygen out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's completely technically enclosed. So when it went off, you also got to understand you can breathe through your shirt, the cloth. Oxygen can travel in and out of that cloth. So when it was enclosed, it actually lost. See, I have another video I want to show you guys. Can you guys hear my video audio in there as well?
You
If
have
I
to.
play a video,
There's a
Yeah,
button on your screen before you share it that talks about sharing. I think that's right. Is that right, Colin, or no? Maybe I'm thinking of Zoom or something. But anyway, but let me ask you this real quick before you play the video.
go ahead.
When we're talking about this lapel mic, how does that lapel mic manage to travel all the way up to the opposite side of his neck and then detonate? Now that would I could get the PETN idea as a possibility of a theory, but I have
Let
a
me show
hard
you.
time believing that the
That's
lapel
my
mic could
specialty.
pull it
Let me
off.
show you how. It's because PETN is very controlled. When it's actually played,
Okay.
remember I just told you about how when it's confined, you know, it'll shoot out of one direction. Technically, PETN, you can launch it like a bottle rocket, and that's technically what they did. You know, what they did with that mic is, you know, let me show you. My video, I technically break every single part
I
down. Let
do
me show you.
understand that. I understand that it can, because PETN is just mainly the explosive device. You could put it in a gun barrel for that matter and make it
Exactly.
actually fire
Shoot
off. You
straight.
could put it, in fact, some of the people that I know it, I talked to some people in the government just a little earlier, about 2 hours ago, and I just simply asked, what do you know about PETN? And this was a girl, but she sat there and give me the rundown on PETN, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea you knew all this stuff. Like, I know everything about PETN. I know exactly. She said, now PETN is just the catalyst or the igniter. She said, but you could. She said it could be used theoretically in anything. It could be used in the microphone. It could be used in a speaker. It could be used in a
Of
camera.
course.
She said it could be
Correct.
detonated from any device that you want to detonate it from.
Exactly. I'm gonna show you a video right now of the trajectory.
you're not sharing it right. You got to just share the tab, not because right now you got your
I see.
StreamYard on there too. You just
Okay,
when
one
you
sec.
go in here, when you hit the button down there, the plus button to share,
Yeah.
all you do is go to share screen, and then you just click whatever tab you want. Instead of
I
sharing your
see.
whole window, you just share specific
I got you.
tabs.
That's perfect. All right, I got the video pulled up. This will give you a slight example of it right here. Let me show you this
There
video.
we
This
go.
video is from Contact Industries. This is one of the best examples. Watch these guys set off 20 grams of PETN.
Did not hear any audio.
Oh, you can't hear any audio?
No. Take it down, and then try to do it again. This time, it'll say
share tab audio. It says. Okay.
Yep, you got it. Make sure that's turned on.
That is turned on, but I think because I'm using the audio from my phone. Wait 1 second. Let me do this. Wait, let me restart this. What
And
about now?
turn up your volume on your phone as well.
Can you hear it now?
Yep.
You guys can hear it? Awesome.
Yep.
This is the first one that went the way I expected it to go. Yeah. I didn't expect a half pounder to make like a laser beam through the guy's head.
Thing that
it's about the
watch
same
what he
as
says. This is
one
important.
thing that is
Look what he
stuck
says.
in my mind.
Hold on.
I just said 30-6. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah,
What were you
Steve.
saying?
I took it down for a minute so Steve could talk.
Okay.
Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
One thing that still sticks in my mind is the mechanical sound that we hear before the actual blast. There's a mechanical sound. If you ever, there's the only person I've ever been able to see that can mimic the mechanical sound to a T was a video I pulled up one day where someone was showing Hollywood. They use this one particular device, and it's some type of air device that goes off, that takes and shoots a dummy round into a person. And I was like, wow, that's actually kind of like the sound signature. Now, that does have a unique sound signature as well, but of course that's one type of way of using PETN. And PETN, I know, can be used in multiple different settings, different types of things there. Do you think using a laser to set this thing off, that would also affect the sound?
It's very unlikely. I'll tell you why. It was infrared 100% without a doubt. One, I saw the actual infrared light going off at the exact second it goes off. Two, the microphone is insanely primitive. There's no way you can fit any kind of other receiver in there without having to modify the actual microphone itself. And I'm sure Charlie would have known that when they set him up. You see what I'm saying? Right. I guarantee you
how do you see the infrared laser go off?
I'll show you, because you can see it from a camera lens. You want me to show you real quick? Let me pull up my video.
Yes.
I'm gonna show you real quick.
Well, you'll see it is through that. Go ahead. I got a dead spot, guys. I might lose you for about 30 seconds or so.
Go ahead. You're fine.
All right.
All right. Let me pull that up for you. Well, I didn't get a chance to finish this video right here first. Let me show you this video, the actual one I was presenting first, because he cut me off before I actually got to finish it. This video is very important because these guys actually show you how, what do you call it? Look what he says at the end of this video.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Colin?
Yep, go ahead.
30-6.
Look what he says at the end of this.
Expect a half pounder to make it. This one that went the way I expected it to go. Yeah. I didn't expect a half pounder to make like a laser beam through the guy's head. It's about the same as a gunshot. This is NIJ4 rated glass. Yeah, from a 30-6.
Did you just hear what he said, Colin?
30-6.
We lost Steve. He's still missing, huh?
Yeah.
I want him to see that because he'd know right away, because you see around the window, there's no damage to anything else except where that explosive was placed, Colin. You see that?
Yeah, it definitely is made to look like a 30-6. Absolutely. Exactly,
and that's how they knew. That's what they tried to do to Charlie's head. Actually, their intention was to actually blow his head off completely, but that actual explosive lost a lot of efficiency. Lost a lot of explosive velocity, because inside his shirt, when it went off, majority of the actual velocity, flew through his shirt. It moved his shirt around. You can see it blew off the back of the shirt from the actual, the explosive trying to escape out of his shirt. The gas is exploding outward. And that's why this is what they aimed. This video is much old. This video came out exactly 3-4 months before this assassination. After I started doing some research, it's very well known that the PETN produces this type of ballistic every single time when it's placed in a cylindrical setup like this, especially with a small blasting cap, or it's done, technically what they did in the assassination is technically like a small with one end to close the blasting cap. You know, you can even see like there's so many details I want to go over. I don't know if we're gonna have time to go over everything, but you know, this was one of the main details that people need to understand because you know, this is how PETN, this is how they expected the trajectory to be. But obviously a few things went wrong. You know, that's why nobody believes that was a 30-06. There's nobody that will believe that was a 30-06 that would you know, that
Oh,
would shot at
absolutely.
him. It's very difficult to believe that. You know, you want to wait for Steve to hop back in, or should I just keep going?
Just keep going. Go ahead and share that other video. He'll hop back in as soon as he can.
All right, this other video, let me pull that up for you. I'm gonna show you the actual laser itself, so you can see. 1 second, right here. I'm gonna share this video right here for you. You know, I technically broke it down into 4 steps just so people can see. Like it's plain as day. You know, this first part right here, this is the signal. Obviously, you know, he wouldn't be signaling a guy on his left side who wouldn't be able to see it. You know,
Oh, it definitely
so the person
was
would
a
have to be in
signal.
vicinity. It would have to be in vicinity. Keep watching.
And Mikey, besides him signaling there, Mikey was paying attention too. These guys were locking eyes this whole time during this signaling.
Bullseye. And watch this. You know, all I believe that guy Frank Turk was there. If you look at Frank looking at his left, he knows what's going on, you know. But look at this. Watch this. It's very simple. First step, he gives him the signal. You see that? You see that RF light right there? That's the infrared light. You can only catch that on camera because a camera would be able to see that.
Let me stop you for 1 second. Let's make sure we don't show anything. Let's not show. Let's stop right before the actual blood starts flying.
Of course, no, of course.
All right, yeah, because we can't show that stuff. It'll get us taken down.
Of course, I'm gonna try to. I don't know if I can block some of the things because you have to see that the main part is back here where I want to show you. Let me see if I can block it with something.
Can you zoom in? I mean, if you could zoom in just, you know, over on the guy that you want to look at, maybe.
Let me see if it'll let me zoom in quickly. Wait, zoom. Okay, I think it does. But then you won't be able to move to there. Shoot.
Yeah.
Let me see. I hope I can edit it. You know, let me see if I can edit it quickly. Shoot.
Let me see what we can do here.
I don't know if it'll allow me to do that. Shoot, let me figure it out. You know, I can just share my whole screen and then move it to the side. You want me to do that so it doesn't show anything? I'll just share my whole screen and just modify it.
There. Right.
Because all technically you have to see is like back here. You have to see up there a little bit. Let me remodify it so you can do that. I apologize. I completely forgot about that. You know, what's so funny about this is YouTube has actually let me upload all those videos. And the reason they allow you to keep it up there without banning you is because I used the Mossad picture in the beginning of my videos. I did that by design because then they see it as pro-Israel propaganda and they'll allow it on there, no matter what kind of video you have in there. You know that, right?
It could be, absolutely.
But good to know.
Yeah, that's how they allow me. Like my videos, you can watch them. There's
I also know that they are less stringent on smaller accounts. They don't get noticed as quickly because
yeah, correct.
When you're a bigger account, you have more eyeballs, so more people are going to be reporting your videos. The AI is going to be looking at you a lot harder as well.
True.
So
true. Here, I got it now playing. All right, I'm gonna cover just you know, the first step is right here. You know, you can see him obviously give the signal. You see it go off. See right when the infrared light goes off right there. What's so funny is that
we could I think Steve, you think would be okay with just screenshots if you know, if he didn't actually play the video and he just went, you know, to the screenshot he wanted and showed that. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, we could probably do that. And
yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
It's gonna be blocking. I'm just gonna skip through it real quick and just point things out without actually showing it. Would that be better? I'm just gonna technically point it out without it going off. So let me show you something. This right here. Like, see how it goes off? You see the light? I have another view from a different camera angle where it reflects off the camera, and you can see it bounce on the wall here. It technically, because infrared light actually bounces off camera lenses. So I have another footage where it actually shows you a bounce off there. You know, then that other guy that was out here, I can't remember what his name was. What was that guy's name? The guy who Rick Cutler. Yeah, Rick Cutler actually set off the actual decoy, because what Rick Cutler did, he had his back towards where the supposed sniper shot came from. All he was doing was telegraphing. He was telegraphing with all four of them. You see what I'm saying? That's why he was facing where Charlie. And if you notice where he was actually looking, he was actually looking over here towards Frank and the actual trigger man. You know what I'm saying? Listen, everything was done on purpose. Even the banner covering his face, the cameraman, the way they set up all the cameras for this event, it was to supplement this. The audio guy who did all the audio for them was there to supplement this assassination, because the person who set up his microphone knew something was up with it. If you look at his microphone during the speech, you see it pointing diagonally. You can see the tip of it pointing diagonally too as well. So like everything is as clear as day. All you got to do is just go watch the footage. You know, you got to take my word for it. Go watch the footage, and what you know, once you see, you cannot unsee this. So technically, you know,
I know that's why they are hiding the camera footage for sure. They don't want us to see this camera footage because it shows stuff that they don't want us to see.
Of course, there's a few more things I want to show you from footage that you showed on your X account that literally helped me out so much. Because we'll get to that next, but let me get to the point of this. If you notice here, the light goes off, and then watch what this guy does. Watch, just keep looking at this guy. So they set it off. All he was is telegraphing when the explosive goes off, so he can set off the fake audio sound, like the Hollywood audio he was talking about earlier. About Steve was talking about how that audio that he heard, you know, because it wasn't a real gunshot. It didn't sound like a gunshot.
You think it was through the You think it was through the speakers?
I highly doubt it was through the speakers. I highly doubt it was through the speakers. I don't think so, because it would sound artificial. You'd have to have an echo, and it would be too artificial. You know, I'll show you why I know it was what do you call it? It was actually like, it wasn't a speaker, but it was artificial. I'll get to that in a second. But anyways, he sets it up. All this guy Cutler was doing was telegraphing this, so he sets it off at the right time. Because if you watch him in slow motion, you know, you can see him with his hand on the trigger, and then once it goes off, he presses the button. You know, and he's a few milliseconds late, by the way. That's why you can hear it like the sound is off. If you actually slow it down and you hear it by milliseconds, you know, in slow motion,
definitely, there's a difference for sure. You can hear it.
Exactly, because you have to telegraph. It was done manually. So listen what happens. This is where it gets crazy, because look, he sets it off. You see it go off, and then look at this. Let me show you something.
Just move your cursor to where it needs to be.
Look what he does.
That way we use screenshots.
Listen, if you notice what he had, his phone in his left hand open already. Watch this. Look at this. I'm trying to find the right part. You see that? You see that? If somebody gets shot and killed in front of you, is that what you're doing? You just pull out your phone to talk? You know what I'm saying? He had his phone already open. He didn't dial it or nothing. It was already dialed in his left hand. You literally watch him pick it up, and technically it's a kill confirmation, because they got to get a timing stamp for the guy who's either running on the roof or he's choreographing with Tyler Robinson to get him to do things at the exact moment. Because obviously everything they did was timed, you know? And you can see him on his phone, literally. The second that thing goes down and you see the light go off in his shirt, you see him pick up his left hand and start talking on his phone. And secondly, what you know, the evidence later on that came out about how that Butch guy was caught off camera speaking about the timing. He's standing right next to him. You can see him right there. He's standing right next to him. That's who he's accompanied by. You know, on top of that, I'm telling you, it took me 2 months to get a good photo of that guy. I looked everywhere. I could not find the photo anywhere. Literally, I had to scrounge people's Facebook pages who were at the event to actually get a picture of that guy. I tried putting him in all the AI face identifiers. You cannot find him anywhere. Literally. I looked every single place, literally. And on top of that, you know, the major breakthrough was the 2 projectiles that go off behind him. Because I have footage of them nearly hitting that guy next to him. Where is it? Let me find this. Let me find this thing. Because look at this. If you watch right next to this guy, right next to what's his name? What was this guy's name? I can't remember his name.
Frank. Oh, Dan Flood, the guy in the black.
Dan Flood. Yeah, watch this. Look at him. When the explosive goes off, he doesn't flinch. He flinches once those 2 projectiles nearly hit him. Look at this. Look at this. You see that? 1, 2. You see that?
Yep.
You see that? Look, 1, 2. Technically, they had a fail-safe. Those 2 projectiles behind him were a fail-safe. So if he didn't die from the actual explosion, you know, and he was going to run to the left to his bodyguard, you know, so technically Dan Flood was bait. So if those projectiles didn't kill him, the one in his microphone, and he got up to run, those 2 projectiles were going to kill him. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
You can see them literally go off clear as day. Later on in the later footage, where they started removing them off the internet, they started cutting the screen out from the left. Let me see why I can't get it up there. This thing is annoying. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me pull it up right here. I'm gonna, you know, like let me see if I can hide it. You can see them up here, like literally. They're inside they're tucked. If you see over here, there's like tape. They put white tape over it to try to hide whatever was connected. And I'm telling you, it's without a doubt with PETN 2 as well. It's all rigged together, man. You know, as far as it goes, like that was the main, like, you know, on top of that, if people actually did research, they would know that this is a very common thing. It's very well known how you know, the IDF and the Israeli intelligence, they use stuff like flashes and, you know, projectiles.
Oh, it's definitely possible, 100%.
It's a known fact. Like literally everything they use is all very well known. Look at this. Packed with shrapnels causing devastating injuries. And you see what happens. You see how the bone stops it. The bone always stops it because, you know, it can't produce enough explosive velocity to penetrate fully through. You know what I'm saying? That's why they claim, they tried to corroborate this. You know, there's no way. There's so many pieces of evidence that point out, you know, as an actual explosive. You know, there's something called flaccid paralysis. You know, flaccid paralysis, if something hits your spine or any kind of, you know, vertebrae, your body just shuts down completely. Your body just collapses. You know, the decorporate posturing they talk about, that's not consistent with a shot in the spine or the vertebrae. You know, that's consistent with a explosive concussion. If somebody's in a blast radius of an explosive, or they got punched on the head and they got knocked out, that's how they usually fall. You know, so that's very inconsistent with what do you call it, with a gunshot to the spine, like they claim. You know, and there's so many that there's like everything points outside of that, dude. Like, I don't even know what to cover right now because there's so much information on this. You know, I have a few other diagrams. Let me see the other.
Well, just pick like the, you know, the top 3 most important things that you want to convey or whatever, and we'll go through them.
You know, technically the most important thing was you know, let me show you the next one right here. I made an actual diagram, like a little physics diagram to show you.
Can you share that? Can you share that just a single screen instead of your whole screen? Share just a tab or just the file.
Let me just get this file opened up for you. 1 second. Where is it? Right here. I got it. All right.
Okay.
There it is. If you look real close, you see, like, they try to tell you that it was a cavitation. Look at that. There's no cavitation. Look at the green part. See the green? See where the green circle is?
Yep.
If you zoom in there, you look at, there's nothing wrong with the back of his neck. That's not a cavitation. It's impossible for because if you had a cavitation, you'd see swelling there. You'd see a massive bulge sticking out. You know, and if it did hit his vertebrae, it would have moved his vertebrae, and he would have had, you know, like a flaccid paralysis. He would have just shut down. He would have either fell forward or backwards. They say 70 to 80% of the time when somebody's shot while sitting down with a sniper shot from the front, they always fall backwards because you know, it's not because of the force, but because of the weight. and you know the projection of being hit with a bullet, and then a body just releases backwards. Technically, everything should shut down. His hands should go limp. Everything should go limp, especially because he got hit in the neck. You know, it's above every other part.
The thing that when you showed it to me, the thing that made me think that, hey, you know, this definitely, you know, could be plausible is because you could see, like you said, around his shirt, it starts like the air or whatever in the beginning, and it kind of goes around to the back. Like you could see it from the front to the back, how his shirt was puffing up.
Correct. And the cavitation, man, there's no way you can say a bullet hit him. You know, you have to be insane. I watched these guys go on and propagandize about it. Oh, being it was a cavitation wound, and it shot off his necklace. Look at his necklace. If it was a bullet hitting him there, his necklace would fly in the same trajectory as the actual bullet. It wouldn't fly up in the air like you see. You can see his necklace fly in the air above his ears, above his head.
Not necessarily, because his necklace wasn't hit. You know, but if his neck broke the chain, then it would fly in, I guess, whatever direction the break went. So I mean, that part is possible.
I mean, I can't see that possible. The way the necklace flew up in the air. You also got to understand the link broke on the right side, not on the left side. If you see how the necklace actually broke off in slow motion, the necklace breaks off, and then it's like sitting flat on his left shoulder as he falls down. It's impossible for a cavitation to do that, you know, unless I mean, what is his neck blew out 36 inches? I mean, that's impossible. This isn't a Looney Tunes Acme cartoon. You know what I'm saying? It's impossible. I've seen people get shot so many times with armor, without armor. You know, you'd see blood splash. There was no blood splash anywhere. It was a big hole, a massive gouge, and then just blood everywhere. You know, like every part of it, you know, shouts explosive. There's no way, you know, and the cavitation they say in the back of his neck, look at his back of his neck. It's completely flat. There's nothing there. There's no way your shirt can blow out that far and your neck can stay completely flat and normal, like nothing happened to it. On top of that, if you see his hair, the way his hair went upwards, the guy, it looks like he was on a roller coaster at Cedar Point. You know what I'm saying? Like in every trajectory. Like look at that. Look at the apex of it. The apex of where his shirt poked out. The trajectory points down to the floor. That's why people started coming up with the idea that there was a sniper in the hole. They shot. Remember those little ideas? They said he was hiding in the little hole under the ground there in that little tunnel.
That's definitely not an option.
I know that's not an option, but that's where people got this funny idea from. You know, people came up with the wildest ideas about this, but it's pretty plain and simple. You know, the trajectory of the projectile, which way it went in. You know, the way his necklace shot up. You know, even the wave. When you see the wave, the shock wave from the actual after the explosion goes off. You know, the way his shirt and his hair. They're massive. They're like big signs of where the shockwave trajectory was. A bullet trajectory wouldn't make a shockwave like that. It would be impossible. You know, especially all the way up to the top of his hair. It's impossible. And look at his lip. If you notice how his lips and his skin on his face go upwards, it's like somebody like free falling on a roller coaster. It's pretty wild, man. There's no way anybody can mistake this.
Ollie, let's take though for a moment what we need to do,
ahead.
Because now that I'm on a computer where I can look at things a little bit better here, I would like to see, even if we use some still images, and I may have enough of them, but if you can share some images of what you're talking about. I mean,
Of course.
for me, I was involved in about, well, I was involved in 3 assassinations. So I know how we carry them out. Now, with you being from Lebanon, I'm sure you may have had to experience some things that were not very pleasant either.
Of course.
I've got very good friends that live in Lebanon. They were there when the Israelis bombed that facility there. They used a weapon that the United States did not even know about at the time. That's why it was more like a nuclear type of explosion that went off there. And I had a friend of mine that lived in an apartment. If it hadn't been for the grace of God, her walking away from the window, she'd have been dead, because that part of their apartment was totally gone.
During the port blast you're talking about, or which blast?
During the port blast. Back when they alleged that, that Hezbollah, they did something wrong and caused their weapons depot place to blow up. No, the Israelis did it. Is who did it.
Mm-hmm.
Very nasty.
What kind of weapon did they use? Because that blast was insane.
According to one of the guys that I knew in the Mossad at the time, he was boasting about it at that time, and he was talking about the type of weapon, Ali, that he said, you Americans don't even have it. And they were threatening Russia with it as well. If Russia didn't back off, they were threatening to use it over there on the Latvia base as well. So it's kind of crazy. But, you know, Ali,
I didn't even know that. You know that? Like,
yeah, you're freezing up, Ali, for some reason. Kind of like me, probably. You got it's hard on a phone. So
sorry, my connection keeps going in and out. Like, this is what I'm telling you guys. Like, my connection's been going nuts after all the stuff that's been going on. Like,
I can only imagine. Like you said tonight, my wife, when she heard you say it, because she was sitting with me in the truck when we were driving, she heard you talk about me being shadow banned. She goes, now it makes more sense. I said, look, there's no way I can have 1,000 people subscribe in 1 week and then they'll remove 1,200 the same week.
Wow.
That's what I go through, because on average, over 1,000 people a week will subscribe to my channel.
God bless you, man. I don't undermine a single sacrifice you've made, man. Trust me. Like, the way it is now, it's just, they're getting aggressive. They're getting aggressive, man.
They are. They really are, Ali.
You know, after what I'm telling, I've been traumatized after seeing what they did to Charlie Kirk. I was never a fan. You know, I never really, I was always into politics, but people who were overly, overzealous, or I felt like they're being brainwashed by a bigger power. I never really paid attention to it. But man, watching that assassination, man, it shook me. It shook me bad. Not in a way as if it scared me. It intrigued me, but it was just so ruthless. It was ruthless.
That's the problem is they intended it to scare us all into submission. And instead, what they did is it scared us, it rattled us, but it scared us into action. And that's the problem. We saw that and we're like, nah, this is bullshit.
Exactly, man. And people think Netanyahu went on TV to disclaim that he did it. He actually went on TV to let the Israelis and the extremists know that they did it on purpose and that nobody's going to be able to stop him. That's what he's really insinuating by that. And that's the way I read it, man. I read things the way they are, man, not how they want the media to understand it. I literally read things exactly as they are, dude. And that's exactly what it said, what that message was.
Yeah, let's take, if you can, because I'm sincerely interested in your take on this, because I've had several people give me the same scenario outside of yourself, and I tried to follow this, but I had a difficult time initially following it because, I'm trying to, I get the idea. A gunshot going off is nearly impossible in that setting. A drone, yes, feasible. And I know that when we were looking at this as a bullet wound, the Israelis have a specific type of bullet that causes such a massive expansion, it's not even funny. But that's a different scenario altogether. I want to look specifically at what you're talking about.
Detail. I have it pulled up here.
Get a better idea of what I want to see that type of evidence now that I can be here with you guys and really can take a good look at it. So, and Colin, you got such a nice hairdo tonight. I have to tell you, brother.
Sorry, my connection is just going nuts. So be patient with me for just.
Sure, Ali. We got time. No rush.
Yeah, I was wearing a hat, but my audience told me, they like the long hair. So whatever, I'll just let it, let my freak flag fly or whatever, Hey,
you look good with it. It's all right.
Yep. All right.
That video up for you. I got that video right here for you. See, let me pull it up. All right. You guys can see it. All right, right here. There's no violence or anything in this, so you can just see this perfectly. Look at this. I prefer to do this in media.
When you're looking at the shirt puff out at the back, what is your analysis on that, Ali? That actually is.
what happens is when the explosive goes off, it's a gas. It's technically a gas with pressure. You know, let me give you there's steps.
Gas. That I did know. And my
Exactly.
theory
So
was,
it goes off as a gas. So,
okay,
you know, you're technically filling air. You know, what happens is when it actually goes off, the PETN melts, it technically expands, it turns into like a gas and explodes. It's a shock wave first. Okay, before anything happens, before a projectile is actually launched, you know, it's a shock wave first, and then the shock wave sends all the objects around it in technically as a projectile. So what happens is when it actually explodes, you know, technically you got to look at it like this. When it explodes, there's pressure going this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Okay? But what happens is the way it's packed, there's actually an explosion first, so it shoots out of one end. And when that explodes and the actual expands enough to blow off the cap, then it turns into explosion and manifests as an explosion. Does that make sense?
yes, it does.
Exactly.
Now I want to show you something, because this is where I was trying to wrap my head around it. So let me first see. All right.
See, the shock wave is almost like a vibration, you know, so it literally vibrates things first before it sends them flying in their direction. That's how it works. Let me just show you just a few more frames before we go on there. But look at this. You see how it explodes? And you got to understand the explosive, the diameter is almost circular. When it first goes off and the actual explosive shoots out the cylinder, you know, it shoots off in like almost like a gunshot kind of. But then when it fully explodes and it's like technically it's being held down really before it fully, you know, manifests the full explosion. So look what happens. Look at this. If you look at it, how it's circular, look at his shirt.
You showed me one thing. You showed me one thing where his hair, you could see his hair actually
Exactly.
move.
Look at that.
Yeah,
look at his hair going upwards.
You see
that?
moving, yes.
You see the hair going upwards. That technically, the explosion, you know, it's almost circular. It's like a wave. It's difficult to actually, you know, that's the thing about the what do you call ingenuity about what they did. They knew about how people would perceive it from the actual crowd's perspective. So they tried to make it like a magic trick kind of. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
They knew what they were doing. It was all theatrics. So what happens? Like, look at how it's a circular motion technically. But you got to also understand, the closer it is to the center of gravity, like right here. Like, look at this. Watch this. Look at this. You see where the highest point, the apex of it is, the actual apex of the explosion.
Yes.
Because it's right there in his chest. You got to understand, it sends the wave technically through his chest. That's why he also bled the way he did. When that explosion went off, the pressure it's like somebody smacking you on your chest. Does that make sense? That's why you see him like crouch forward a little bit. When it first goes off, you see him grin and then he crouches forward a little bit. It's like somebody smacking you on your chest. It's explosive going off right. And look at his necklace. If you notice how his necklace is, it's tucked down in his shirt first. You can't see his necklace. You can't see his necklace here. You see that?
Right. Now we changed the screen for a minute, Ollie. And if you would,
sorry.
This is what I want you to look at. And because I'm trying to understand the wound itself, right?
Yeah.
We see the puffing of the shirt in this image here, but the microphone is nowhere near. And I understand you were saying a projectile was shot from that, but the question is how does this? Now I'm assuming, if you can see my mouse, I'm assuming, and maybe I can put a circle over this. Hang on.
Yeah, we could see the mouse.
Okay. I'm assuming that's the microphone. Is that correct?
Yep, correct.
All right. If that's the microphone, and I want you just to kind of help us through this, and this here is the wound in the neck right here. How do we get a projectile how do we get it to wrap around his neck and to go into his neck?
I'll show you exactly. Look at this. You see those lines on his shirt right there? You see those two lines? You see it looks like a triangle kind of.
Yeah, well, that's actually, there was a guy that Colin had on. He was a Marine sniper, and he actually uses this exact same lapel mic. And he showed us in the video. That's the first video I ever saw Colin did. And he showed in there how that wire is underneath the shirt, and how the lapel mic clips on the outside of that, but he was explaining how that works. And that's the only reason I know about that mic.
See,
Otherwise,
Charlie was using a mag clip. A mag clip uses a neodymium magnet. These magnets are insanely strong. You know, these magnets, they can hold between 5 to 10 pounds. What they did with this setup is they used that neodymium magnet as a counterweight. So when the explosive goes off, it doesn't fly everywhere. It actually holds it into place. And they use the actual PETN as a propellant versus the actual explosion. You know, the whole purpose of them using a propellant is if you actually put it like a device, it'd be impossible to fit a bullet in there with a device that fires the bullet off and produces enough kinetic energy to send that thing into his throat. So they use PETN because PETN is a very small amount. You know, you can rig it how you want to. You can set it off by proxy, you know, and then when it goes off, it doesn't cause a flash. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm getting to?
I do agree. It would not take very much of that PETN to actually make
powerful. Yes, very
powerful.
Exactly.
It wouldn't take very much for it to make something that could do that.
Exactly.
I have a little bit of a problem
that's
with
a good idea of it. Exactly. Like, you know, they use the PETN as a propellant. See, people confuse it. They think, oh, it was explosive. Boom. It blew up this direction, that direction. I have videos of PETN going off. I'm going to show you in a few minutes of how actually PETN is controlled. It's very well controlled, like a bottle rocket.
Yes,
a guy ties it on the side of a can and sends the can flying in the direction he wants to with that PETN. Does that make sense? I'll show you how it is very controlled in smaller amounts. It's almost like a firework.
Ollie,
and that's their intention.
All right.
Here's my other question on this, though, and then we'll pull this off. Now we know he's got the cable there as well. And of course, I've not had enough education on PETN, just from one of my engineers that I talked to, Mossad guy I reached out to about it, another CIA guy I reached out to about it. And I know the CIA uses it very, very extensively in the field. We didn't have it when I was in, but my point is, though, that I still am trying to understand, unless it's the wire itself that went off, I can't see how, if that's the mic in the blue, how that got the injury on that side of his neck.
I will see the people have a hard time understanding. They don't understand that when this thing moved, the PETN went off and sent everything flying off in that direction because the explosive is on the microphone. It's not on the magnet. The magnet's going to go wherever the microphone is being propelled. Does that make sense, Steve?
So that in the blue then is the magnet. Is that right?
Exactly. Exactly. What you're seeing on the outside is the magnet itself. So this designed in a shirt, the triangle, is which trajectory it's going to. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Moving to his left side. You're seeing it moving in real time into his left side of his neck. Does that make sense?
And you know, Ollie, if I don't challenge you like this,
no, I want you to challenge me.
People won't understand. So that's why
I agree.
I needed to get a clarification on that. I assumed that was the mic itself.
No, that was the magnet on the outside. See, these magnets are very strong. I actually have some neodymium magnets I can show you right now. They're almost impossible to get off with your own bare hands. They're insanely strong to get off. The only way to get a neodymium magnet off is to slide it off slowly because it's so strong. It is the strongest magnetic element in the world. You know that, right? Those magnets on those microphones. Exactly. Like they're made for you to run around, jump, go everywhere, and the microphone will be held in place. So it's a very strong. What they did was genius. It was like a genius. There's no way they don't have magicians teaching them how to set up these tricks. You know, if you look at the Epstein files, they actually used to have a magician that used to go to Epstein Island and like corroborate with these intelligence agencies and stuff. So there's actually you know, like some kind of element to this. It's not just some. See, when people look at this assassination, they think, oh, Tyler Robinson, some bum kid did this. That's what they want you to think. That's how they brainwash people. That's not how this thing went. This was very carefully planned and executed. You know.
I agree. So
you guys got a clear picture of how the projectile was launched trajectory-wise? Is that making sense? I do
want to see though some more. Yeah. Even if we have to go back to some of the original imagery, if we can jump back and look at that, I'd like to see that as well.
Of course. Let me get back to, you know, I want to get to the part where you can actually see a link of his necklace flying off. I actually caught the link in slow motion flying off. I can show it to you real quick.
Yeah,
Let me pull the video off real quick. You can actually see the link flying in the opposite direction, in the opposite trajectory, which proves to you that it was an explosion that happened. This wasn't a shot. There's no way a bullet can rip your link off in that same trajectory. I have it right here. Let me pull that video up for you and share it. I'm telling you, like, you have, like, listen, I appreciate you challenging. I want you to challenge everything I say, Steve, because I promise you, I know this very, very well. You know, I've literally, listen, on some of these YouTubers, I've actually bet them. I told them I will pay them $5,000 if they can debunk any of my claims. And not a single YouTuber took it up. Not a single person.
Don't be doing stuff like that, because somebody might try to debunk it and claim it.
I want them to.
So,
like, that's how confident I am in my analysis on this.
No, I appreciate that. I do.
Of course.
And
thank you.
so I just want to, I'll put you in the grinding wheel on it. You know, because here's the thing.
I want you to. Listen, I want you to challenge every single statement I make. I promise I will quantify that for you, and I promise you by the time this video is done, you'll understand it.
The engineer lady I talked to tonight that knew everything about PETN, I mean, I was blown away. It's like my hair was blowing back in the wind listening to her, right? And she told me, she said, Steve, she said, look, I'm telling you, look for anything. It could be the camera. It could be, she said, I don't know about a micro, no, she said the microphone, the camera. She said anything that was within close proximity of Charlie is potential, could be used with PETN and could be set off. And it could be set off remotely. That's what I was getting from the Israeli guys. They said, oh, God, he said it before. He said, Steve, he says, what are you looking all these other places for? He said, look at the microphone. Okay, look at the microphone and think about it, an exploding microphone. Steve, he said, we're good at it.
Exactly, man. That's literally all. I mean, it's that simple.
And one of the things that has always thrown me off, that has stumped me, that I still do not have an answer for, was what we see up in the very top of the tent right after the shot. It looks like, you know, a shell casing or something that fell down.
I know what you mean. That's why I'm telling you, this is where we're going to get to the next part with the two projectiles that go off behind him. You know, I'm going to show you real quick. I think
they could stage that too, even with a blank going off, for example. I mean, let's say theoretically, Colin, like, for example, every time we ever did anything, we always stage it to make it look another type of way went down. It's done. And only that, even JFK. Now, of course, I wasn't alive during that time, but my partner was, and he never would say it, but others, we speculated he played a role in it. But what we did know, though, because of the old timers in the CIA, because I'm in back in the 80s, so, you know, we weren't too many years off from that happening. But they said the main thing that the government did was give so many rabbit trails for people to run down with theories and possibilities. That was done intentionally. The CIA would feed this type of information to people in order to get them going in every direction you can possibly think of. So when I was,
that's what's manifested in this too. Like, this is what they've done. They've achieved that, you know?
Right. And I have, theoretically, when I looked at this, one of the things that I did consider that I didn't even share with Colin initially was that I was looking at this and I kept watching the air going, like the air hitting the shirt and pulling up.
That's that's a big sign.
Yeah, it is a big sign, but it also,
I said the same thing.
A vacuum of the cavity of the wound, depending on the weight of the shirt. But it wouldn't cause the hair to blow back, I wouldn't think, because that would be because see what happens when a bullet goes into a person like that, the cavity that it's creating through the pressure chamber within that person's neck in this case, as that bullet were to exit, if that's what theoretically was to have taken place, as it were to exit, all that energy comes out of the neck as well.
Exactly. Bullseye. See, that's that's what term I'm waiting for. See, nobody mentions that. They say it's a cavitation and his neck blew out and it did this and that. That's impossible because the force going in is what's going to come out on the other side. There's no way a bullet can go in there and just stop. And technically the force stops. You're going against the physics.
Right.
It's
Well,
not possible.
Ollie, I actually looked at it as an entry wound and theoretically possibly the side of the neck below his shirt collar. And
but you'd see blood there. You'd see something there. That's how also I came to my conclusion. See, when I went back instead of looking at the pager attacks,
well,
you know what was common?
There is something there that I had a guy Gideon on my show, and we sat down, and he actually showed. I think it was Gideon. But he actually showed us that, and he even did a color analysis to see that it looked like a wound on that side. I think Steve has a screenshot of it where it looks like you can see. It definitely looks like that there might be an entry wound on the on his right side of the neck.
Listen. I got to be careful how I say some things because there's things that they've never figured out. And unfortunately, I know too much about it. But I would say this here. We do have every person I've seen shot. Entry wounds, normally you'll get a tiny bit of a splatter, very minute as the bullet goes in. Depending on where it hits. The exit wound is where we have our bleeding at, unless there are some cavity wounds that the cavity is large enough that it can withstand holding most of the blood and it doesn't pour out. In Charlie's case, his freaking carotid artery is blown slap out. I know because I had a steel rod go through my wrist and sever 2 veins, and veins don't pump nearly as well as an artery does. But I guarantee you one thing, I had Niagara Falls going straight up in the air just from a wrist wound. But I've seen it before. I've seen one guy shot right between the freaking eyes, so I say between is in his forehead here, but the blood just pours like a water faucet.
But in this case, like he bled out. All his blood came out before he even hit the ground. There was pressure. The pressure, I'm telling you, they planned this on purpose. The way this execution was done, it was almost like a passionate kind of murder. The way they set up the explosive. They wanted his head completely blown off. They wanted his head completely blown off, but it lost a lot of velocity because the movement of the shirt, the magnet took some of the force and it moving across his neck to the other side, and it lost a lot of force. That initial video I showed you with the explosive and with the 30-06, where the guy tells you, oh, it's the size of a thing. That's the type of intention they wanted on his head. They wanted his head blown off. That's why people won't believe this thing. Nobody's gonna believe this. Oh, some guy was politically motivated. Nothing fits. Let me go ahead. Oh, okay, that's the clip. Awesome. All right, let me see that.
This here. And I can't say 100%. You got to keep in mind, this is in milliseconds right here. And of course, I would really need a high quality resolution to be able to know anything with any kind of certainty. But even his neck is swollen. It appears to be that may be an interest one. I've got a better picture than this one here. And the other thing, the reason why I have the arrow going the way I do there was because I did consider there was a possibility that he was actually hit in the head. But of course, there again, this is a poor shot. Is that the chain going from his neck, or is that a blood splatter?
I don't think so. I think that's a shadow, to be honest with you, because I have footage, very high quality footage from his right side, right behind him, and you can see everything perfectly. If you can switch to my screen in a few minutes, I'll show you. That's a shadow, guaranteed. But you also got to understand that when PETN goes off, there's other parts of him that are going to get damaged. So there's burns probably on his chest. There was claims of his chest being caved in. There's people there that said his chest was caved in. So that also
put that back on, Steve. Can you put that back up for a second? Yeah, what you just had up there. Another thing I was thinking is, we are kind of having a little bit of a problem with how if it was the lapel mic, how it would get around to the other side of the neck there. But if it was an entry wound, once Steve brings it back up here, but if there was an entry wound on the right side of his neck, then that's a lot shorter distance for that. If there was a PETN explosive, it could very well have gone through the right side of his neck, and then, I mean, it could be two shots as well. We got to remember there could be. I really think there's a second shot anyway. So the PETN could very well have gone through that hole that Steve just showed right there on the right side.
No, there's a few other things I want to show you.
Deal, Steve.
Yeah, I got two different things here I can share with you. And just, and what I'm doing here, Ollie, too, is I want to get your take on some of these things here, just to see your analysis. This is the one Colin wanted me to reshare this again. So let me share this one. Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, I was just pointing out when he has that yellow hole there, where we think that could be a entrance wound.
It's very unlikely. I think that's a shadow from grainy footage, because I did see the footage on his right side.
Could be.
No, I mean, it could be, but we also, like I said, I had Gideon on, and Gideon did a analysis on it, a color analysis, and it showed that it had the same crimson hues as the blood on the other side of his neck.
I mean, it could be. Anyway, I won't rule it out, because when the explosion goes off. Go ahead.
My point is, though, is that if that was an entrance wound, then that would make your PETN theory a lot more plausible, because it would, a lot of the problems that we have is how does it wrap around to go in his neck there.
I'm going to show you an example real quick about that. Like, this is how I also know the PETN, even though you can control it, but some of the projectiles you can't fully control. There's a margin of error when they set off the PETN. They knew it was going to hit him in his neck, because that area is very fragile. They didn't know it was going to hit on his left side of his neck. You see what I'm saying? Their intention was to hit his actual right side. Where it was set up was where they initially intended for it to hit. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why people are like, oh, okay, if it came on his left side, then the sniper had to be on the left side because of trajectory, and then it threw everything off. See, there was a margin of error in this assassination.
You're not. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Is even if it shot up at that angle, even if if it shot up at that angle, it would just go in like this. It wouldn't go into him.
I see what you're saying.
It would have to wrap around to go into him that way, and I just don't see that being plausible.
No, I can see what you're saying. It's the way you're perceiving it, and you're thinking it wraps around, is because the dimension you're looking at it. You got to understand, the actual microphone is literally right under his neck. So no matter where he turned, it perhaps hit his left side of his neck because he turned his neck to the left. If you see when it goes off, when it explodes, before it explodes, I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to break it down for you as far as the dimensions of what I mean. Because when it initially goes off, or before it goes off a few seconds, you see Charlie wins, and then he turns to his right side. You see what I'm saying? So, and the microphone is right here. So when he turns to his right side a little bit when it goes off, that gives it a chance of going in there. Obviously can't see because the video is saying.
All right, so you're saying his head was turned a little bit when the shot
exactly hit. Because when it went off, he flinched because it starts heating up. I got a video. Let me show you this video real quick. This will put things into perspective. Because the way we're looking at it, you got to understand, you're technically looking at it two-dimensional. You're not seeing a three-dimensional version of how it actually went down. Does that make sense? If you actually see that,
go ahead and show us. Go ahead and show us.
Because I watch a lot of boxing, so I know how they dodge, weave. People think in boxing you got to move your head. Sometimes it's just a matter of turning your neck and you can dodge a punch. It's the same kind of technical thing that happened. Let me pull this video up. This will put things into perspective. Wait 1 second. Man, why does this thing keep... Oh, okay, it's right here. Sorry. All right. Let me show you something. All right. Let me pull this video. Wait. Where is it? 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. Serial flinch. There it is. All right. How does it? Sorry, 1 second. Shoot, I don't know why it's doing that.
Take your time. Take your time. It's all right. Believe me, and
I just got like so much material here. It's crazy. Like, dude, like my wife tells me I got a problem. She goes, "You're obsessed with this. Relax."
A lot of
So
people
good.
are obsessed with it. It's quite all right, yeah, because there's so much of us are just trying to figure out what the heck.
Exactly. Let me show you right here. Okay. You guys can see it now. All right, wait. Okay, there's the video. If you notice, look at that. You see how he puts his microphone on? He's talking to the person. You see that? And then look what he does.
Yep.
You see how he flinches, turns his neck to the right? You see how he keeps turning his neck to the right? He's turning further and further. You see that? So technically, it's almost aligned exactly diagonally to his neck, to his left side. You know, I didn't want to put the whole thing to get you banned, but
that comes back though, Ollie, to it seems like almost that it would be it would just graze off of his neck or just rip his whole throat.
You got to understand. Let me get back to the.
Yeah.
You got to look here. See here. Let me show you. See, this is the explosive. You have to understand that when the explosive goes off, it's not just going off in one direction. The shockwave is also sending other projectiles around it, wherever they're aligned. So if something is down here, it's also sending that downwards. Does that make sense? So you got to understand, it's almost sent like a spike, kind of. Think of a circle here and spikes.
There is one thing I will say that's always bugged me about this particular image you're showing right now.
Mm-hmm.
When Charlie closed his eyes and gripped his lips tight, you can't help but wonder why.
Exactly. It's PETN heating up in his goddamn microphone. It's heating up. Before the PETN goes off, it gets fully dissolved, and it's almost like a chemical burn. He felt it heating up first. Does that make sense?
Well, it would make sense, or it could also, there's another theory I've thought about too. I don't want to say that at this point, but, you know, I look at everything. I just, you know, like you guys, you know, you sit here, you go over and over and over and over. And the advantage we have is because there is so much physical evidence that we can look at, which we didn't have with JFK and things like that. But so you can really examine things closely. Have you got, Ollie, do you have a high resolution of front video like this here?
See, the front has been really difficult to get front video. The only one I have high resolution is the one from his backside to his right. I wish, like, see, the only clip I have that's high resolution is the one that was sent by Blake. Let me see if I got it here. But
yeah,
it's still like a little grainy.
UVU is the only one that had a semi-high resolution from the front.
It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to get front footage.
Let me show you one other picture here real quick.
No, but I'm sorry, before we continue, I just want to see one thing. Do you understand what I mean by the way the projectiles go off, Steve? Because you got to understand, like, if you see the way the microphone is lined up, it's literally lined up to his right side. You see, when he moved his neck, when he swiveled to the left.
Well, your head moves, your neck, you'd have to move your body to get your neck to go that direction.
Exactly. You know, I watch a lot of boxing, so that's where I kind of, I kind of understood, where the trajectory, because I had the same question, but then once I realized it, go ahead.
I would say this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with PNT possibly being the very catalyst that was used in this attack. I could see that being very plausible.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm having a hard time of this particular Mike being the one that caused it, because if it's sitting on one side of his shirt, the hole's on this side. See, even if I turn my head all the way around, my neck doesn't go with my head. I would have to turn my body around, but then your shoulders are moving, so the mic is constantly trailing back.
I understand.
Explosives go off in different directions. If you've ever used a grenade goes off in different directions. Everything's going to get tore to hell and back.
Exactly.
Right? Not just.
Let me give you a better example. I'm going to show you an actual video of PETN going off in slow motion, and I'm going to show you in similarity how the trajectory works. Because you got to understand, the projectile isn't just going off in one direction. It's actually exploding as a wave. You see, if you look at my mouse, you see how my mouse is moving, Steve?
Yes, I see
It's
that.
technically exploding in all 360 dimension right here on this side. So there's, you know, blast wave going this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, and that way. Technically, the way the explosive was the explosive was at the bottom of this. So when it shot out and it exploded, it technically sent everything around him in this area going in this direction, that direction, this direction. That. Do you see what I'm saying? And the way this is aligned, the projectile was perhaps this direction. And you can literally see it moving.
But then the shirt would have had to gone in different directions. If you have, look, I was blown up once, actually twice, blown up twice in my life. Unfortunately, thank God I survived both of them. But when you have a blast, that blast travels. Well, I get it. PETN could go in different directions, and I get that. But
I'm going to show you a video in a few.
A blast, it does. It goes in all different directions. So it doesn't matter which side you're on of the blast. You're gonna get the brunt force of it. In his case, when that shirt, this is the thing I really focused on was his shirt. That shirt, everything just pulls straight up and back like this. Nothing goes in different directions the way a blast should happen if it happens.
Exactly.
No, you're right. You're right. And that's because I'm going to show you how they project. You got to understand the shock wave is what goes in multiple directions. The projectile and the way it's propelled will go in one direction.
It looked almost like somebody was pinching his shirt, which was very strange to me.
Yeah, but
let me show you this.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this video real quick. Let me share this. Because this actually has video of actual PETN going off, and I'm going to show you how this guy propels the can in one direction. You know, you're going to see the shock wave first, but then you're going to see the actual, what do you call it? 1 second. I got it right here. Okay. Where is it? All right. Let me just turn off the audio. Okay, there it is. This is how 6 grams. This is 5. How much is this? I think this is 6 grams of PETN. Watch what happens in this. Look at this. The camera's right here, and look how the projectile flies and hits the camera. Watch this. You see that? You see how the projectile hit in the direction of the camera?
Yes,
well,
but
you know,
also
notice
when the blast goes off, like you said, it does go in different directions.
You're right.
One piece hit the camera, but you see in that moment of just a brief second, you see fragments going in different directions.
Correct. But see, if there's no other fragments outside the little microphone, you understand what I'm saying? There's a magnet on the other side, and we never got to see his chest for one thing. But the main thing, let me show you. This one gives you a much better explanation, because look at this. Look how this guy has his blasting cap. He uses a wick on this.
That also could have explained the thing that I saw that seemed like it hit the top of the tent or whatever.
Correct.
It could have been something propelled by that explosion as well. I mean, so that is a possibility.
That's theoretically true. That's true.
Like, look at this. Watch this right here. Look how he has the actual PETN connected on. He uses lead azide in this, so it's going to produce a lot of smoke versus what was used with just regular PETN and digitally set off. Like, look at this. Watch this can. You see how he has this set up? You see how it's just a cylinder? You see which way it's pointing and which way it's being ignited? Watch this. You see which way the can went?
Yes.
Watch this. Look at this. You see
every direction.
Exactly. Technically, the shockwave was gone in every single direction, but the can only flew in one direction. Do you see what I'm saying? And look at the can. Only one side of it is blown off.
Well, yes, because the PETN is attached to one side of the can.
Exactly.
But when you have the blast, so it does go in every direction.
You're right.
This here, right? If PETN is attached to that microphone, we should have seen a lot more erratic action from his shirt, not that one directional pull. So my thought is have you, or let me ask you this, Ollie, have you considered PETN being used from any other device near him other than that lapel mic?
Very unlikely, because one, where the wound was. See, they want people, the way it went off, they want people to not know it was PETN. You see what I'm saying? The way this whole thing was set up.
Right, but I'm not even challenging at this point the idea of PETN. My question is,
me either.
Is look, right? Remember when these guys jump over the rail and everything, and they're all freaking out, and then they grab something, hand it off to somebody, and they leave with it.
Yep. No, obviously they grabbed the rest of that microphone, because that microphone is a big piece of the evidence. See, this is where I'm going to get to the next part too, because the way they poured concrete there 2 days later, and obviously in the past few days when they leaked the text messages about the pouring the concrete and the remodeling, that was done because those 2 projectiles that fired off behind him. See, Colin posted some footage a few days ago, or a few weeks ago, I believe, of projectiles flying literally right next to his thigh. Like, you can see it fly almost right next to his thigh. I'm sorry, excuse me. My eyes are burning. All right, and technically that projectile that got fired off, they were never able to recover that. That's why they poured concrete there. There's a few other footage after of Butch and a few guys scrounging through the grass and looking for stuff there. And that's what they're looking for, those 2 other projectiles. If that microphone, if a single piece of that microphone is left there on that table and somebody finds that, they're going to know exactly what happened, because the piece is blowing off from the microphone. I'm telling you, they set this thing up very well. They knew what they were doing. So they had to remove that evidence of that actual microphone. They had to remove every spark of evidence. The detonator, the actual microphone itself, the magnet, everything. Even his necklace. I don't even think that necklace Erica was holding was the actual necklace that was that blew off, because you can tell that that necklace where it actually broke off the link, it was on his right side where the actual lavalier microphone was. That's why it blasted to his left side. And the link it blew off is exactly right above the pendant where the actual microphone was. That's another tale about where the actual, explosion happened, or the initial genesis of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Now, if you would, Ollie, it may not be easy to see on a phone, and I get that. If you can look at the image that we have here, this one was far more clearer.
Yes, I can see a lot clearer. You're right.
Yeah, see, you can see what appears to be, and by the way, there's only one frame that this shirt opens up enough to be able to see that. Now, is it a mole? It could be. Theoretically, it could be a mole.
Listen, I'm not ruling out that could have been damaged from the PETN as well, because PETN, every piece of you got to understand, when PETN goes off, it sends a shockwave. When the shockwave goes off, every little particle in front of it, piece of sand, debris, turns into a projectile. The speed it's being launched at is a very, 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 very high velocity, speed. So when anything in front of it goes off, it's going to turn technically into a projectile and blow a hole in you. Technically, it won't go through you, but it'll hurt you to a degree. So I'm not ruling that out. That is a very big possibility. You got to understand it. The amount that guy used in this video I just showed you was around like a half a gram. That microphone probably had between a quarter of a gram to half a gram. So it might be a little less, you could say. But I'm telling you, like, as far as the physics of the shirt, the way the projectile went, the type of wound, the category of the wound, and the blood flow, even the guy setting off that RF, the video of the RF light going off, the LED being caught on camera, I have absolutely no doubt, like 0 doubt, that it was PETN. I have no doubt. It's not a bullet. Even the audio, like everything. It's not. The crazy thing about this is they didn't try to hide any of this. This was done like in public.
Well, I think there was multiple things going on at once. One of them could have been a bullet. One of them could have been the PETN, or it could have been a combination of the PETN being shot from a gun. It could be numerous things. I think you're right on the money with the PETN. I'm just not all the way there with you on the lapel mic.
No, as far as the mic goes, I'm telling you, I have 0 doubt. Like, you can see the shockwave. The shockwave from the mic traveling is all you need to see to know what it is. And I know this because there's no way you can put a bullet or load any kind of device that can fire something like that without causing a spark, without causing in a very like, it needs a lot of energy. You got to understand, if you understand physics and you understand the energy needed to launch a projectile like that with a complicated mechanism, and you have such a primitive device that's really that small, there's no other choice but PETN. And you can do it by proxy, you know, and you stage it as a gunshot. It's plain and simple. You got to understand, these guys that just did this execution were the same people that tried to assassinate Trump a few years ago. But they realized that, damn, you know, we got to fire in a crowd. You might hit a bystander. These guys are people that support us. So we're technically killing our own supporters. You know, why not just make it look like a shooting, you know, and blow the guy's neck off and send a message to all the people, technically. They knew all the stuff was going to come out. It's not like they had a hard time hiding this. You know, I'm as far as the physics goes, the physics is all you need to you know, put the nail in the coffin, man. It's plain as day. There's no way you can deny that. You can see that you can see the mic traveling in that direction. You know, they've done this before. The wound categorization is exactly like I've seen with the pager attack. It's been one single entry wound that looks like an exit wound, which everybody mistakes for an exit wound. You know, the blood pattern is exactly the same blood, just all falls out at once because it's technically a pressure wound. You know, when it actually goes off, it's pushing all the blood in your body on one side and then busting a hole in there and then sending it out of that hole technically. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
You know, and
yeah, I mean,
him flinching is literally the last nail in the coffin. Him flinching right before it goes off, you know, is exactly like it is. It's an RF heat initiator going off and setting that thing off. Like, I have absolutely no doubt, even hearing the audio, I have actual audio of the both audios comparison. You guys want to hear that audio? It's
Sure.
literally identical.
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's literally identical. Like, you cannot mistake this. I literally clipped. It took me a while to do this because I had to time it perfectly. But look at this. I have the actual audio.
Let's be mindful of our time, though. We've been on here an hour and a half already, so let's try to wrap this up by 2 hours.
It's just
here.
so much information to digest. Like, you know, I apologize if I took so much time.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I got it right here for you. You can hear it like clear as day. Like, look. Well, let me restart it again.
We're not getting any sound. I don't know if you're trying to play.
You guys aren't getting any sound?
No.
Nope.
You guys can't hear any sound? 1 second. Let me fix that. Sorry about that. Let me redo that. You know, obviously the PETN going off is in an open area. So it's a little 1 second. All right, there it is. Share a tab or a screen instead. What? 1 second. 1 second. I'm sorry. All right.
Is it a video file you're trying to share or a tab?
Yeah, it's only letting me do the audio on if I share the whole screen. 1 second. Approve it. Go ahead.
Great. 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 Great.
You got to also understand the area where the actual you know, his microphone went off. It was in a closed area, so it'll sound more like more enclosed, you know, versus an open field. I've been trying to find a way to actually set it off in the what do you call it, like in a small lab environment. But you know, I don't want to get my. I'm already being watched and stuff. I don't want to sit there and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't want to start
for sure.
stuff and have the feds back on your property.
Exactly. You know, and that's what I'm worried about. But, you know, as far as the sound goes, like, it's almost identical. It's almost identical. It's the same like pattern. I gotta have somebody evaluate it further. There's a lot of audio guys that were trying to analyze this thing from an audio perspective. But man,
I'll put you in contact with Gideon, the guy we had on, because he's and he's an engineer and he's working with a bunch of sound people. He built a sound profile, so he might be able to help you with that.
For sure, man. I just have one more
thing with him
before we move on. What did I want to show? Let me remember what I was going to show. This was an important part because this is one of the most important things. This is scientific. People don't understand that when a shock wave goes off, that it actually refracts light. This is one of the most key pieces of evidence because this is scientific and it's very, very, very quantitative. I have to show you this. This is literally the nail in the coffin because the actual explosive, when the explosive goes off, it sends a shockwave and it actually refracts the light. You can see the light pattern change. I can show you this real quickly. Let me just pull this last part up for you so you guys can see this, because this is very important. This is like one of the most important things about this whole thing, because you can see the color in front of it change because of this. Let me pull it up on, let me get this real quick. Would be good. I think Clipchamp would be a lot better because Clipchamp is you can actually pull up the video in a very, very, very clear and slow controlled manner. Let me get this. All right, there it is. Let me share the screen now. There it is. Let me see if I can zoom in further. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, let me zoom in right here. Oh, shoot, not this video. I'm sorry. 1 second. Let me see it. There it is right here, this one. I apologize, man. I got so much stuff on here.
You like me, man. I got so much stuff. My Charlie Kirk folder is like, it's a mess, man. I've got just about every video that was released from that thing, even some that's not even publicly released, because I've had a lot of witnesses reach out to me privately. And I made the mistake of not labeling anything. So I have a huge file with just numbers, and I have to actually go through every single one to try to see what. It's a mess, man. It's a mess.
Right here. All right, I got it. I'm about to share it in 1 second. Because this right here, this video is also insanely high quality. This, I thought initially this was 4K, but I found out it was just it was a 60 or 59 frames per second in 1080p, but with like HDR and stuff. So it was like really what? Oh, that's right. There it is. All right, let me show you this real quick. This was the biggest key piece of evidence because this is proof that an actual explosion went off. Right here. I'm about to share it. All right, you guys can pull it up.
There you go.
All right, right here. If you guys can zoom in further, I want you to look in this area right here. See where this this little part right here? Watch the color on there. You see that? You see before when it first goes off, you see that color? You guys see that right there? You see that? That's a shockwave.
When you're saying the color, yeah, you're seeing the flash of the shirt and as well.
Exactly. It's a refraction of light. It's from a shockwave. This is a known fact. This is a scientific fact. Google it. Does a shockwave refract light? That's why you can see the color kind of change or the lighting. Do you see that? Do you see that?
I see something.
You see how the color fades a little bit?
I'll look at these images again when I can pull them all up separately and stuff.
It's not necessarily the color. It's actually the lighting. The lighting refracts. This is from the shockwave. Google this. This is a known fact. Google, does a shockwave refract? It'll actually tell you. This is how I found this out.
Do it slowly if you would, as you're doing it there.
Look at this. You see that? See how it becomes blurry, kind of? Because you need light to see.
I do see it getting kind of blurry.
You see how it gets blurry like white? You got to zoom in a little further. It's difficult to zoom in on this. Let me just do this with the what do you call it? With VLC or something. It'll be a lot easier to see because I can zoom in all the way. Let me show you.
Yeah,
There's nothing violent in this.
One thing that is obvious is the fact that besides the shirt blowing back, his hair definitely blows back.
Upwards. His hair actually goes upwards.
Yeah.
You can literally see
Yep.
it stand at a 90-degree angle completely upwards, which is just crazy. I'm sharing it again on a bigger screen. So, man, why is it doing this? See the type of video. Let me see. Okay. Here you probably be able to see it a little better.
It's actually a little further out is what it is.
Is it further out?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're
But the nice thing is, though, is we can actually, because Colin has all the video files, I'll definitely want to go look at that. Maybe
I want to see if it allowed me to zoom in. It's just, wait, what is it? Man, I gotta find a video player that can actually do. Let me do this. Let me see if my my Windows can do this better.
Did you zoom in on your YouTube video?
My YouTube video, I did not not exactly on this because I started to find this out later about the refraction, about how it refracts. I found this much later. Wait, see, the problem is none of these video software let you actually zoom in. Let me see. Oh, actually, no, this one does let you zoom in a lot further.
Well, other people, it's not that big a deal because other people have seen the videos. They know they exist. You can even post the video on your channel, and people can go look at the video for themselves and
actually,
see what you're talking about.
Better on this. Let me share this one. This one you might be able to see it a lot better right here. We'll try this one last time. Sorry to do this to you guys. I know we killed a lot of time having to do this. I've just never used the software. All right here. If you look right here in this area, it's a little darker shaded, so you can probably see it a lot better. You see that? Are you guys seeing that right there?
We can't see, when we see. Yeah, I mean, I see. I can't see any light reflection because it's too far away, but you could see the hair moving up.
Man, this thing's so annoying. The softwares are ridiculous.
What we'll do, though, is I'm going to have to run, though, Colin. I will take, though, and we'll start really looking at this real careful as well. And especially if we can prove that there's more to this on our end as well, we can bring Ollie back on and go back over this again. So I definitely want to look at it closer. I want to run it past some of the guys that I know. A lot of these guys are retired, but especially one guy, he designed the Mars rover. He's an engineer for that, but really brilliant guy. I'd like to put some of this to his attention and see what he thinks on this. So
I test every single thing I said, Steve. I'm telling you, man, I'm confident without a doubt, especially after this last piece right here with the refraction of the light. I'm going to try to get a zoomed in video quality because it's crazy that my video editor on my phone can do it a lot better than a computer can, man. It's pretty wild.
Well, look,
I'm going to get that exact clip for you, zoomed in 100%. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
Well, exactly. Like I said, go ahead and post, go ahead and edit whatever you want to do. Post it on your channel. You can send me the link. I'll send Steve the link. And that way other people can see it too. I'll direct them to your channel.
Guys, give me the opportunity, man. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate you guys.
And if you guys have any questions about what he's saying, if you believe his theory, if you want more information on it, you can always reach out to him as well. His channel again is ZRE. How do you pronounce your Zurichmeister? At Zurichmeister, which is ZREIKMIESTER. So that is his X. I'll go ahead and drop that in the comments for you guys here, so you can find him. Make sure to give him a follow. And like I said, you can contact him if you have any questions directly there on that.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and show you. I'll go ahead and show you his X page, just so you know. Once again, this is his channel right here.
Ollie, we appreciate you coming on too. Tremendous.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Absolutely.
Colin really reaches a lot of people, so this will be interesting to see the feedback as well.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it, sir. Thank you so
and
much.
like I said, your story is very interesting. And I definitely do believe that PTN could 100% have been used. I think it's maybe even probable that it was used. We'll have to do some more research to see if it's how
Sure.
you're saying or potentially another way. But I definitely think you're onto something there for sure. And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Pleasure's
Definitely.
always mine, Colin. Thank you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you, Colin.
And
For
you
sure.
guys make sure you follow Steve. You can follow him. He's at Stephen Denoon, DENOON on X, or you can follow him on at Israeli News Live on YouTube.
And
He
I
posts there
promise
regularly.
my next book, I'm going to get rid of the pen name and use my real name.
There you go.
All right, guys. Y'all have a
Yeah,
great-
make sure you follow
All right,
him, and you guys all have a great night. So I appreciate you joining
you.
me.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you guys,
Thank
man. You guys
you.
have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.